Do we have Wojtek here? Wojtek, hello.
Hello, Danny. Hello, Darko. Nice to be here.
Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for coming.
Finally, we have you here. And we've seen you pop in and out of the platform. We're like, is Wojtek ignoring us?
He just doesn't like our faces.
Yeah, it doesn't like our faces. Before we let you kick it off, we have a couple of comments here on the parrot's name.
PP.
PP Party Parrot.
If I have any more, coffee, I probably will name it that.
Yeah, it is Glue Parrot. Okay.
Yeah.
We thought about a service name, Polly, but it's just too much on the nose. It's not
Too
really,
on the nose, really.
Randomizer, Darkanoid. Okay.
Oh, Darkanoid.
Darkanoid is interesting. Be more creative. Give it.
I mean, look at its face.
Look at it.
Come
Does this
on.
look like a Darkanoid?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it looks more like something data-driven. So yeah, be very creative. So yeah.
Oh, Sophie, French form, meaning insightful and relevant to data analytics.
There you go. Sophie the parrot. That's cool.
I
That's
like
cool.
that.
We like that. We
I
like that. Brahmi. We like that. That's a very smart answer. Brahmi, we're gonna send you some AWS credits if that is okay with you. While we do
You'll
that,
win. You'll win.
You win. While we do that, Wojtek, hello. Can you please introduce yourselves? What do you do? Where do you join us from? And all that fun things.
Sure. So my name is Wojtek Gawronski. I'm the developer advocate in the Central and Eastern Europe in AWS. I'm continuing your legacy in that region. And actually, a fun fact: developer advocate doesn't have to need a beard, but that's the common thing that we have. At least I have a hair.
You have hair. My hair has migrated down to my beard, but I see you are rocking a beard as well. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And Wojtek,
Not as impressive as yours.
By the way, Wojtek is doing. I used to do the same job as Wojtek. I used to be based in Berlin, cover Central and Eastern Europe, the best part of Europe. And now Wojtek is doing the same role. So thank you, Wojtek, for doing the amazing things for all the people out there. Speaking of amazing things, Wojtek, what are we talking about today? I see your session is called The Serverless Future of Data and Analytics.
Yeah, that's correct. Basically, the plan and the premise of the session is to show cool things that are serverless and allow us to, for example, tackle those logs that Dayon had in the background when it comes to the scalability and operational excellence much easier than as we will do it manually, trying to fight common issues or any other problems that we will have on the road.
This sounds
so
like
that's the
it's going to
premise.
be a little bit about efficiency, and I personally love efficiency as a topic.
Yes,
right?
exactly. So in this case, efficiency from the development perspective. So in most cases, when we are actually dealing with the data analytics, it requires a lot of operational expertise. We had amazing sessions previously. Abhishek shown how to use the MSK and Kafka. Stefan showed the Apache Flink and Kinesis data analytics. All of those tools require huge expertise, a lot of knowledge. But at the same time, we need to gain insights. We need to work with those data piles that we gathered. We would like to have as quickly as possible the results. So there are some tools that allow us to do it efficiently from the development perspective.
Absolutely. And so when we talk about serverless, it's people start saying, oh, everybody's talking about serverless, but I love my servers and all that fun things. But so why should we even think about serverless when it comes to data analytics? I know we mentioned efficiency and speed and whatnot, but is that all of it, or is there something else to serverless when it comes to doing your data analytics things?
So as you said, the first things first, efficiency from a development perspective. But at the same time, we can actually leverage the provider side when it comes to the scalability, when it comes to the ability to tackle all those operational issues for us by the provider. So that's another part of the serverless side. And I don't want to beat the dead horse when it comes to the jokes, but probably all of you know that under serverless there are servers, and that's no different in this case. So basically, yeah, that's true. So basically, that's one of the things that actually helps us when it comes to on those development paths, because someone else manages those servers, and we are actually having those fully managed servers.
The cloud is just other people's servers?
Yep.
Yes, exactly,
No.
exactly.
Oh no.
Linux mostly.
gosh.
Yeah, it's it's fascinating. Okay, so you know what, Wojtek, I instead of you just kind of talking abstractly about serverless as serverless kind of tends to be, can you show us something and then we'll just kind of chat through it? Would that be okay?
Yeah, sure, exactly.
I think you have a demo you're going to share, so I'm going to put your screen up just so you know.
While he's doing that too, I mean, when I think about serverless and when I think about efficiency, the thing that comes to mind is like, I don't know about you all, but I hate waste, right? And so like wasting resources is wasting money, and you know, you're not getting the impact out of your spend. So I mean, that's kind of like a core reason around serverless that I see.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. That's one of the things. Another thing which will be at the moment it is important and will be even more important in the future is matter of sustainability, because we are actually leveraging stuff that is underneath, and we are doing this efficiently, much more efficiently than we will do it on our own, for example. So that's another part. But talk is cheap. Let's go with the
show us
demo.
stuff. Before you show us stuff, tell us what you're going to be showing to us, Wojtek. What can we expect from your demo?
Exactly. So there will be 3 steps. I will not cover them in full details because they were either covered or will be covered during the day. But there are 3 steps. First things first, we need to acquire the data. And usually we acquire the streaming data, for example, on the Apache Kafka. And I would like to show you the serverless flavor of Apache Kafka available in AWS, MSK serverless. Then we need to...
relevant, like that's relatively new, isn't it?
Exactly. All of those 3 elements that I mentioned were announced basically on the last re:Invent, so November 2021.
Okay.
They were basically announced as a previews. At the moment, from all those 3 services that I will tell you, MSK serverless and Emr serverless are already generally available. Redshift serverless is still in a public preview available for the tests. So it's relatively, all of 3 services are relatively new. So having the acquire and the data capture part beyond us, we need to actually transform the data and prepare them, for example, for load into the data warehouse to gain insights. And we can actually do this in the serverless manner as well, helping with the Emr serverless, which is the serverless flavor of the well-known Amazon EMR. And the third step, the last one, when we are actually loading the data to the warehouse, we can leverage the Redshift serverless, which is the serverless flavor of the full data warehouse available on AWS.
I still remember setting up EMR clusters a couple of years ago, and it took ages to do. So I'm happy there's a serverless approach to that right now.
Yeah, and you can still do it. And if you have the expertise inside your team, you will be able to do it. But at the same time, there is an easy path for people that, for example, learn during the process or would like to leverage the cloud and gain those insights quicker.
Okay.
So speaking about the data acquisition part, I already pre-created the managed streaming for Apache Kafka serverless cluster. And it is available in a few regions. I will use Ireland because it's closest to me. So basically, when you are entering the clusters inside MSK console, you already see a pop-up that says there is a new feature, MSK serverless. You can create this cluster with a few clicks or through the CLI at the moment. Basically, you will need to fill out the cluster name, the method. So basically, it will be a type serverless. Then you have a few...
Can I stop you for a second? Are you showing us the console right now? Or we just see Cloud9 right now, just so you know. I'm not sure if you're trying to show us the MSK console. Yeah, there you go. See, I know something was up.
Yeah, sorry for that.
That's okay.
So basically, if you should see the MSK console. So when I entered the clusters, there was a pop-up about the available options. And when it comes to the cluster creation, it's a very simple step, a few-step process. First things first, we need to fill out the cluster name. Then we are choosing the cluster property, which will be the serverless type. And then we are actually see predefined steps filled for us. If we would like to manage those on our own, for example, change the networking, change the VPC, we are able to do it. Just we need to change the quick mode into the custom creation. But at the same time, when cluster is created, we actually have the ability to connect into this cluster as usually we do with the Kafka. So it wouldn't be a huge problem for us to leverage existing tools, existing systems. The one thing that you need to remember that at the moment, MSK Serverless supports the authentication model through the IAM. So basically, that will be the only change you need to remember about that. And speaking about the IAM, let me show you how to actually connect.
Right? I mean, we like that.
Yeah, we like IAM.
From the security perspective, it's actually a very, very nice choice. So I will show you how to do it through the console. So returning to the Cloud9, basically, if you would like to do the a regular connection to the cluster, you can do it with the console producer available in the Kafka. That would be pretty easy to do. But I have one failure pre-prepared in this demo to show you how the MSK connects with the IAM. In this case, when I will use console consumer, you will see something you made fun at the beginning, so basically a stack trace. And it tells you that you cannot connect to this cluster without additional stuff available to the SaaS authentication through the IAM. It's very easy to actually add this. So basically, you need to add a jar to your class path or another dependency to your application. And this way, you will be able to connect to your cluster in a regular way. So let me do it very quickly. It's all
about that authentication.
It's all about the auth.
Yes, exactly. So if I will go and choose the current path and the name of the pre-prepared jar, it will be basically I will be able to reconnect and actually use the consumer in a way that was designed and prepared. So for example, if I will send here a test message, it will be available on the consumer side without any problems. So that's a basic thing regarding the MSK serverless. Very quick setup. We are reusing the existing parts, and we can actually leverage this pretty easily in the current setups, current flows. When it comes to this,
I just want to ask you. We like to throw the serverless term around a lot. Is it serverless? Is it just you don't manage it? But how do you pay for it? Is it pay per use?
Is it true pay as you go, or what's the deal there?
Yeah, exactly. So that's a very good question. It is paid as you go, and basically, when you are doing when you evaluate the pricing, you will see that you are paying for cluster running hours, partition hours that you are storing, and the data storage when it comes to the current usage. So it's evaluated and priced based on the current usages, how much you use it, how long you use it.
Beautiful. Okay.
So having that particular data acquire step ready, we can actually move to the data transformation in a serverless way as well. And basically, we can do it through the EMR serverless, which is available as a new console. And I will show you how it looks like. Okay. So if we will go through the console, to the EMR serverless, first things first you need to do is to actually move to the new console for the EMR, because it's a new feature and it has a new UI. And then you will be able to create a Emr Studio application, which will be allowing you to connect to the applications we prepared for.
Did we lose Wojtek?
I think we might have.
I think we lost Wojtek. Okay.
Sorry for that. I need to switch the tab again.
So when
I will go to the new tab that I created,
we lost you for a second there, Wojtek, so just so you know.
It opens the Emr Studio, and inside Emr Studio, I have also the applications available for me. At the moment, my application, PySpark Serverless Demo, is stopped, and I'm not paying anything for that stopped application. If I would like to do some kind of analytics, I can actually submit job on that particular cluster, and then it will spin up necessary resources. And from now on, I will actually pay for what I used in the regular way. When it comes to the application creation, the setup is very simplified. As you said, Darko, in the back in the days, if you would like to do it with the EMR on EC2, you need to fill out a lot of different parameters. In this particular case, it's a very simplified thing. You can choose the type. At the moment, there are Spark and Hive job types and clusters. And then you can actually rely on predefined defaults, or you can customize the executors and how much power you will actually give to the particular serverless cluster. My cluster was already running and has some jobs submitted and pre-prepared. And I actually have two jobs, one which is failed and one which is succeeded, to show you one additional thing. So when it comes to those jobs and applications, I have created a PySpark application, which is basically crunching some data that we acquired from the Kafka. And at the end, it prints out the results to S3 as an artifact. However, because my Emr serverless application is in Ireland region, I have to use the same the data in the same region from the S3 buckets. So for the output and for the input, everything needs to be in a single bucket. If I will, for example, have a different region, then I will need to add a little bit more configuration. Otherwise, my jobs will fail because they are at the moment constrained in a way that everything should land in a single region. If I have a cross-regional workloads, I will need to configure the networking additionally. But that's actually one of the cases that is worth mentioning. If you are sticking to a single region, and that would be actually more efficient from the cost perspective for you, everything will work flawlessly without additional configuration.
If you want to do multi-region here, you basically have to set up some sort of VPC peering or cross-region connectivity, and that would cost you the data transfer between regions, right?
Exactly. Either VPC peering or basically using the private networks with the NAT gateways and public connectivity. Exactly. And this will be calculated and priced as usually on AWS. And as I said, when the application is stopped, we are not paying for that. Basically, every single time that we are submitting a job, application will start. Either it can be pre-warmed up and pre-initialized for us. We will pay a small fee for that. It's more or less like with the AWS Lambda and the reserved capacity. But at the same time, we can also stop the application, do not pay anything, and submit jobs and actually wait until they will be finished and evaluated.
Gotcha.
And last but not least, there's a very handy functionality. Out of that particular place, we can actually run the Spark UI and very easily debug our application if something went wrong. So basically, we have full visibility thanks to Emr Studio and integration with the Emr Serverless in this case as well.
It's always nice to save a couple clicks. I appreciate that.
Exactly.
Couple of clicks and setting up when it comes to the additional operational knowledge, how to do it and how to actually access those things. Exactly.
While Wojtek brings up the second screen, just a question for you, chat. Have you used any serverless data analytics tools? Do you use EMR? Do you use something like Spark Jobs and all that stuff? So let us know in the chat if you have done it. Do you have any issues with it? What kind of problems do you run into? Or what is the thing that you most love about those things? And yeah, it can be serverless. So we had a question from Get It though, and Navneet already answered it, but like, serverless run servers? Absolutely, yes. There are servers under the hood. We just like to call it serverless because we like to confuse people. And
it's actually all parrots that run the databases under the hood. That's the secret. That's
Sophie the parrot.
Yep, Sophie the parrot. That's the secret sauce.
Okay, Wojtek, bring your screen up now.
What do we see here? Basically, you should see the Amazon Redshift serverless. So the last step that I mentioned. So assuming that we acquire the data, transform the data, we would like to load this data into the data warehouse and gain some insights. And when it comes to the serverless flavors, Redshift, since the last reInvent, also has this particular version. It is basically priced as you go for the usage. Team introduced a new billing unit called Redshift processing units. So you are basically paying for how much power do you use when it comes to the queries, and it scales automatically, depends on your usages. One additional feature when it comes to this particular version is that at the moment, this one is in the public preview. And if you would like to start with this service, you get a free trial and the free credits, which are available here. Every single account receives 500 for the start to play with this particular functionality and evaluate it on your own. Also, the naming is a little bit different. For those of you who work with the Redshift clusters, we actually create clusters, we manage them, do the proper capacity planning. In this particular case, we actually have something called a namespace, which is shared per region, and this particular namespace will contain our databases and everything that we will load inside those namespaces. So this will be actually a little bit different terminology, but at the same time, we are still using the data warehousing and everything that is related.
Are the capabilities of Redshift serverless equal to non-serverless Redshift? Can you do the same things?
That's a very good question. So when it comes to the capabilities, at the moment, there are some limitations. And if you are interested in the details, I would either refer to the documentation or to the repository with all the source code that I prepared for you. I gathered there as well the limitations. But more or less, I would evaluate all three serverless flavors based on your needs and be careful and evaluate them carefully as well when it comes to the limitations. Because as we said at the beginning, when it comes to the usage, we will be able to leverage those services very easily, but at the same time, they need to be carefully evaluated if that's something for our use cases.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, one thing when you went to Redshift, when I joined AWS 6 almost 7 years ago, one of the things I asked is like, can I use my AWS account? How much can I use it? And my manager said like, yeah, just go for it. Just don't launch Redshift clusters, they're expensive. And now we have the serverless option here, so I guess I can launch my serverless Redshift clusters. So there you go. That's pretty interesting. And
exactly. So, and your manager would be actually really happy, because if you don't use those, you will not pay anything. Exactly. So that would be much cheaper and much safer for you at least.
Exactly. And there's a comment here from on our question: what are they using for their data tools, analytics stuff? Ron Core Bro says Databricks, but transitioning to Domino Data Lab.
Rancor. That's a Star Wars reference.
Rancor.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
How dare you?
I'm not into Star Trek.
Why do we keep them around? I don't know.
So transitioning to Domino
Star
Data
Trek.
Lab because of cost, and that's kind of a thing, right? So a lot of times you will see people just transitioning to a different tool because of cost. But Wojtek, not to take too much away from you, I want to ask the chat here. I've submitted a little poll in the comments here, so I'm going to put it again. I want you to tell us what's the most important thing when you're choosing a tool for data analytics. There's a bunch of stuff there. I want you to go and vote there. Tell us. We're just interested, right? So we want to see those things in real time. We want to see what you think about, is it developer experience, is it availability of integrations, active open source communities, or just advanced functionality. Put those votes in, and once we're done with Wojtek, we're going to have a look at the results as well. Wojtek, please do continue.
So last but not least, I would like to show you the stuff when it comes to how to actually query the data from the Redshift. And when it comes to the Redshift serverless, it has a built-in functionality called Redshift Query Editor. You can actually use this query editor with the classic Redshift instances as well, but it integrates very well with the serverless flavor. And actually, you can see that I already have a ready instance. And this may be a surprise, but I actually clicked it connected to a serverless cluster. It took a little bit of time, very small amount of time, and then boom, I'm available to query and to load data. So assuming that I have my...
I see on this list here, just so everybody is aware, it's very important information. I actually did see the musical Phantom of the Opera.
Okay, that's good.
And I just wanted to point that out, just so everybody knows. So.
Yeah, Danny, that's a valid point. So basically, I'm actually showing you the data from the ticket sample data set in this case. And when it comes to the regular operations with the Redshift, everything that you know when it comes to structure, functionality inside the Redshift, the serverless one will behave and will look exactly the same. So if you would like to get some definitions from the sales tables in the way that you already did it in the past, that's perfectly fine. When it comes to the regular load, you will be using the same Redshift queries. So for example, you can actually copy data from S3. One important note is to manage your permissions properly. You will do it with the IAM roles, and you will associate those IAM roles to the namespaces to the workspaces that I shown you with the Redshift. So basically, if you have a limited access, you would like to do more granular access attribution control, you can actually do it with the IAM roles associated to the Redshift endpoint. And when you load that data to the Redshift, you are perfectly fine to actually access it with the in the same way you will do it with the regular clusters.
Right. That's again the fact that again this is serverless and you don't have to kind of have things idling around. And we talked about like sustainability and this is a thing that kind of popped into my head a couple of times ago. Is like compute is going to become a serious contributor to the usage of world power. It's happening now because of some other things, but like we definitely need to figure out how to make it more sustainable, make it
more efficient.
We use things as they should be used, as when they should be used. So having a serverless Redshift cluster is always not just because of cost, but like thinking overall. Like
yeah, and I think it's easy for people to kind of just abstract it away, right? Like that, these resources just exist in the ether, and that's that. But there's actually, we're paying for them in more ways than one. We're paying for them, from the context of operations, of investment, of actual dollar footprint, all of that, right?
All of that. Yeah.
Exactly. It might sound cheesy, but it will be both efficient for your wallet and for the planet in the end.
Yeah, not cheesy. I think it's an important concept. I think it's something we need to think about too, because it's serious times.
And I come from the old times when we used to use, these things back in the day for compute, and it would take us a lot of effort to make it very efficient because we just didn't have enough. Now that we have all of the compute in the world, we tend to just waste it. So think about the framework you're going to use. Think about the platform. Is it going to be something serverless? Think about the language you're going to use. Did you know Python is not very efficient? Python is just bad when it comes to power efficiency. So yeah.
Oh, you're going to piss off some developers.
I'm sorry. Python is a wonderful language. I'm just saying it's not efficient.
By the way, one of the things I really liked in your demo was the fact that Andrew Lloyd Webber made it into it. We were loosely associated with him, or a couple hops on the GraphDB from him was pretty exciting for me.
That's pretty good. Wojtek, before we let you go, do you have any last words, last words, oh my God, I'm sorry. Final thoughts, calls to action for people. We shared your link already in the chat, so any calls to actions, any
Stop
final thoughts?
People. What are you doing?
Yeah, so definitely we look and appreciate the feedback. So if you have a chance to evaluate all those 3 services, give us a shout out, provide us feedback. We would love to hear more about it. Because that's everything we do for the customers, and the customers are actually providing and driving our innovation and our services. So this will be one of the things that definitely it's worth emphasizing. Yeah. And last but not least, I also had the dad joke when it comes to the data engineering. So I don't know if I'm allowed to. So
go for it.
You're allowed, absolutely, yes.
What do you call a group of data engineers?
Oh.
Drum roll. What do you call a group of data engineers?
A cluster.
A cluster.
In some cases, a cluster something else, too.
Exactly, a cluster truck. Thank you, Wojtek. Thank you so much for joining us. Before you go, quickly, press the button. AWS wishlist. If you can make one service serverless, what would it be?
Oh, that's a very good question. So I would go with it's already present, actually. So back in the days, I wanted to have, it's partially serverless. Okay, maybe this way. I wanted to have a fully managed version of Apache Airflow. Now I would love to have it in a serverless way. Auto-scaling to 0 and so on and so on. This would be great.
Okay, one more question. Last one. If you had any AWS service on a desert island, what would it be and why?
Probably S3 to store everything that I would need on an island.
Okay, we can take that one.
I would go for outputs or heat, but yeah.
Yeah, same.
Thank you, Wojtek, so much. Thank you for being part of this. Everybody, check out the links in the chat. We're going to be sharing them again, I guess, for Wojtek's repo. Let me actually just paste it right in now. It's all happening in real time here, folks. Paste, boom, boom. Check out the link to Wojtek's repo, and we're going to be right back here Danny and me, and then after that we have the wonderful Gwen Shapiro joining us to talk about some wonderful things.
Love it.
So stay tuned for a transition with music. Thank you, Wojtek.
Thank you.
Hey there! Thanks for checking out this video. Remember to give it a like and share with your community. Then hit subscribe and the bell for all the latest content that will help you build on AWS.